Hello and welcome back to Scale with Quail. Today we discuss any and all things about collective learning. For those who don't know, collective learning is one of the thresholds in the program of big history. Basically, it's the threshold crossed by the universe when humans came onto the scene and began their conquest of the world. This is the moment where society really took off, and many things have come from it. From religion, to conflicts, to empires, to fatal flaws, all have come from collective learning. And today, that is our topic of discussion. What better way to start talking about civilization than with the topic of religion? Nobody's ever gotten in trouble for talking about that. In all seriousness, religion is a very important topic relating to collective learning, and something that most human civilizations have dabbled in at least once. And where better to start with religion than with Hinduism? It was the first religion, after all. Hinduism was a polytheistic religion with the goal of continuously being reborn and reincarnated in different lives with the end goal of reaching nirvana, the ultimate peace. This is very similar to Buddhism, which came after and has a person reach nirvana by releasing their attachment to worldly things and following the Eightfold Path, a belief system that Buddhists follow. But they share the same goal, nirvana. This brings us to a common theme of religion, the end goal of spiritual happiness. For Hinduism and Buddhism, this is nirvana. For Christianity, the goal is getting to heaven. But these religions were connected in other ways too, such as their general beliefs. I've already talked about how many have an end goal, but while living through these religions, many have the purpose of helping you live a more spiritual life. Sikhism, Jainism, Shinto, Confucianism, and many others have some sort of spiritual wholeness incorporated with following their respective religions. Another theme of these religions is control. It was much easier for a government to control their subjects if they all followed the same religion, and this is exactly what happened with Confucianism. It's strange how, during the period of collective learning, so many societies from so many different parts of the world had similar ideas. Collective learning, starting with humans, leading to society, leading to beliefs, and even leading to problems. One of the biggest religious struggles, the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, a conflict of land, beliefs, and power. A general summary of this is that both the Israelites and the Palestinians believed that present-day Israel was their homeland, and both wanted it for themselves. As you can imagine, this didn't go well, and many conflicts have arisen because of it. Following World War II, the UN divided Palestine into two separate states, one for the Jews and one for the Palestinians. However, this didn't really end up working out, as the land division was confusing and the Palestinians thought it unfairly favored the Israelites. It became even worse, as after the 1948 Arab-Israeli War, the Israelites had 1/3 more land than they did under the original UN plan. The Israeli conquest continued, and by 1967, they had all the land they originally had, as well as much more to the north and south. The oppression of the Palestinians led to modern-day terrorism and is the root of many problems in the world today. In a roundabout way, this is partly the fault of the UN for so poorly dividing the land of Palestine to the Israelites and Palestinians. This shows that despite humans being around for so long and having many years of collective learning, mistakes still occur, and we are far from perfect. But let's take it back a few thousand years, back before terrorism, before the UN, before the Common Era. Back to Greece. This was one of the most important eras for collective learning, in my opinion, as it was the origin of Western thought. For the first time, people started challenging what was previously thought to be fact and would come up with new ways to solve problems, new ways to look at the world. Three men who are well known for this are Socrates, Plato, and Aristotle. All three of these men made great contributions, but one of the most important was the Allegory of the Cave. This allegory, originally proposed by Plato, goes something like this. A group of people are chained in a cave. They know nothing about life other than the cave and some shadows that dance on the wall in front of them. Somehow, one man breaks free and leaves the cave, and he learns about the beauty of the world. After experiencing the wonders that he's been missing out on his whole life, he goes to tell the rest of the people in the cave about it. However, because all these people know is the cave, they don't believe him and they kill him. Depending on how you interpret this, you can apply it to almost any situation. It shows that humans don't like change. They like to do what's easier, as staying in the cave was easier. It shows they're easily manipulated by shadows, and anyone could control them easily. But you don't have to worry about other people controlling you with NordVPN. If you don't know, a VPN basically encrypts your data when you browse the internet, making your online life safer. They have servers in countries all over the world for your safety and lightning-fast internet speeds. You can even connect to servers to change your browsing location, so you can watch all the great Canadian Netflix shows from the comfort of your own home. And if you go to nordvpn.com and use code NOTACTUALLYREAL, you can get 75% off a 3-year plan and your first 3 months free. Again, that's nordvpn.com with code NOTACTUALLYREAL to get 75% off a 3-year plan with your first 3 months free. Now, let's get back to the Greeks. Greeks weren't just known for their philosophy, though. They had a new form of government, great architecture, and a strong military presence. And if you know about Greece, you definitely know about Athens and Sparta. These two Greek powerhouses had very different views on society. Athens had a more government and wisdom-focused approach, and Sparta was a ridiculously strong military state. Athens even created the democracy form of government and introduced the concept of citizens being educated, a huge step forward in the threshold of collective learning. All that these two city-states did contributed to later human civilization, including the United States. Our government stems from that of Greece, and a lot of our architecture is inspired by them too. However, what the Greeks did, the Romans did even better. Rome was one of the biggest empires in the history of human civilization, a huge peak in the era of collective learning. At its peak, the empire stretched across the whole Mediterranean and far beyond. Rome began its life as a republic, a form of government where citizens would elect those they wanted to serve in the government. This is the same type of government that we use today in the United States. It was very successful, up until the time of Julius Caesar. Caesar was assassinated by his senators, and after the massive violent outbreak of the masses that followed, the Roman Empire transitioned from a republic to an empire. During this time, their reign expanded across the whole Mediterranean, but this wasn't necessarily a good thing. Rome suffered constant invasions, a large gap between the rich and poor leadership in their government. Rome shows us that even after years of collective learning and possibly the biggest empire in world history, all things must come to an end and humans still have a lot to learn. One thing humans still need to learn more about is their fatal flaws. One of these flaws is hubris. If you don't know what hubris is, it's defined as excessive pride or self-confidence. The Romans had this problem. They believed their empire would never fall, and it partially caused their downfall. But we've discussed enough history examples today. Let's get into some literature examples. We can see hubris in Mary Shelley's Frankenstein through the character Victor. Victor believes himself to be a god and doesn't think that he will need to take responsibility for his actions or creating life. This eventually catches up with him, and he loses everyone he loves and then dies himself. This is obviously an extreme example, but it shows that humans must keep their flaws in check so it doesn't come back to bite them like it did for Victor. And it also shows that our many years of collective learning have helped people not to have flaws as extreme as Victor's case. Thank you all for listening today. Hopefully, you've come away learning more about collective learning and the history that goes along with it. Join us next time where we discuss the assassination of Archduke Ferdinand and all the things that have happened because of it. Also like the video. You're still here? The podcast is over. Go do something productive with your time. I don't have anything else for you here. Okay, bye.